a stand-up comedian who normally would be performing in comedy clubs and theaters around the world. Because of the coronavirus, I have no audience. So instead of performing to gathered crowds, I perform to the internet. Whether you be watching this on YouTube, on IGTV, on Facebook, this show is Daliso Chaponda entertaining you for approximately an hour or so. You have tuned in to a particularly good show, a very interesting one. Essentially, I have been doing this for 30 days, right? I've been doing this for 30 days. I can't believe we're at episode 30. Every night I've been doing a stand-up comedy show, and I've written more jokes in 30 days than I've ever written in my life. Because every day, even on a slow day, I write around 20 minutes of jokes. And on the very productive days, I write around 40 minutes of jokes. Also, there's a little bit of chat, a little bit of all sorts. But at the same time, it's been a lot. It's like a comedic marathon. I can't believe I'm still going. Those of you who've been watching the whole time, thank you so much for staying with me. Those of you who it's your first time, welcome to the Coronacast Comedy Show. As this is a very special episode, let me explain what is going to happen. Over the course of the day, sometimes I ask for suggestions, for topics to do comedy about. Usually, I pick and choose, right? I look at them and I write jokes about the ones which strike my fancy. Because this is the 30th one, because it's a milestone, I have decided to do every suggestion which I saw, right? So every suggestion which was made before 3 p.m. GMT, I have written jokes about. And there are 30, which makes sense because it is the 30th episode. So I'm going to do 30 jokes. But at the same time, sometimes I choose not to write a joke for a reason, like it's insensitive or something. So for a few subjects, I will explain why I failed to do a joke about it. So it'll also be giving you a little look behind the curtains at the process. To the people who are here, good to have you here. Hello, David Hutchinson. Hello, Barbara Harris. Hello, Lisa Litchfield. You're in for a treat of a show because this is episode 30. So we're going to get started with the jokes, but any of you who have been there before knows that I do not just start with the jokes. I start with an old joke. Part of the reason I start with an old joke is to get me into the comedy rhythm. Without a crowd, it's hard to get your rhythm right. So I do an old joke just to kick me into gear and also ensure one laugh. I'm actually going to do a thing I usually don't do. I'm going to do a joke which I did Britain's Got Talent in my first audition. Most of those jokes are dead and buried. I don't do them anymore because too many people have seen them, right? But there is one joke which the original version of the joke never aired on television because the final punchline is too dirty. So I'm going to do the full version of the joke as my warm-up joke. So the first two punchlines are on Britain's Got Talent. The third punchline is just for you guys as a bonus feature. So here it is. So I have a lot of married friends, right? My married friends always envy my being single. They're like, oh, you're so lucky being single. You get home. Oh, you're so lucky. I get home. My wife just starts nag. And I'm like, hey, I have to nag myself. I get home, I'm like, what time do I call this? Sometimes I don't pay attention to myself. Should I? No, I've got a headache. So no, I've got a headache is the third punchline. It's the one I did do on BGT. And you can also tell I have not done that joke since 2017 because I actually forgot the words. I should have practiced it earlier. You just assume if you write a joke, it's always in you. But I forgot the examples. I think it's like, what time do I call this? Why am I not paying attention? I forgot it. That's hilarious. Anyway, so now we're going to do the new jokes, which, because I wrote them today, I will remember, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get started. These are all jokes from audience suggestions. Some of them I wrote long jokes. Some I wrote bad jokes. Some I wrote good jokes. It's gotta be a roller coaster. If you enjoy a joke, please put it in the comments because I don't have an audience. I don't know what's making you laugh. I don't know what's not making you laugh. Okay, so let's start with at tennis updates. Okay, and between every like 7 or so, I'll probably chat to people in the chat room. So okay, so at tennis update wanted a joke about TikTok, and for this one I wrote a one-liner. You know who's definitely not on TikTok? Captain Hook. Think about one-liners. I sometimes think they work better if you read them than if you hear them. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed your joke at Pennis. Next, we've got at Colin03 asked me to do a joke about the European Union. Well, the European Union have been thinking of introducing something interesting to fight COVID, to fight the corona. So they've realized they cannot keep down lockdown inevitably. So what they're looking into is apps on phones, right? Apps on phones which will track where you are, help them put in a database, and they actually have said that it's going to comply with data protection. It's going to monitor you, but it's going to be an opt-in thing. They're making it overcomplicated. Make it simple. This is my suggestion, European Union. Just create an app in all phones that if you are 2 meters away from another phone, you're fine. But if you step closer than 2 meters, the phone just starts an alarm, right? So you'll be walking down the street, you step too close to someone, your foot starts going, beep, 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 and you step away, right? And we'll all walk around with our phones keeping us away from each other. It will be like we're all in a giant game of operation. Or if it's too high tech and you don't know how to program that, what you just need to do is you need to develop giant hula hoops, right? Hula hoops with a 2 meter radius. You connect them to your belts by 4 prongs, and then we all walk around like wheels. And we've got this wheel keeping us around. Trust me, this is going to save society. I'm an idea man. Next. So at Colum_Obar wanted a joke about the meaning of life. Well, the meaning of life is Ran. Because German is... life is the German for ran. No, don't worry. I did better than that. I just thought that was a silly way to look at it. I actually think about the aggregated wisdom for the meaning of life. You know, people always talk to you about what the meaning of a life, and you read in books, you read all these Sufis, you read all these old wise people, and generally they always say the same thing. They say money is not the way to make yourself happy. The most important things in your life are your family, the people you love. All of us know this wisdom, but I'll tell you what's crazy. Even though I know that wisdom, I still want all the money, right? I still want like threesomes and orgies rather than a family and a picket fence. And it's crazy. Even though I know old people who have done those are not happy and look back wishing that they'd focused on stuff that is more important. I don't care. I want to make those mistakes too. Next, at Elise Gutierrez wanted a joke about boy bands, right? Boy bands. Now, I'll tell you an interesting thing. This actually goes to what I was talking about, the meaning of life, right? Because the Jackson 5 were like the original boy band. They're the template from which all of the other boy bands which followed kind of sprung, right? If you look at the Jackson 5 and you can draw a direct line to Boys to Men, to Backstreet Boys, to NSYNC, they were the original issue. And the thing is, though, a lot of you probably know that Michael Jackson's father was really hard on them. He was really strict. He used to make them work all day, all night. He wouldn't let them relax. He pushed them. He was a horrible dad, apparently. He was like, really, really hard on all of them. However, right, the Michael Jackson estate is currently worth $1.3 billion. I gotta tell you, I think that's a fair trade. And I think my dad, right, my dad, it was supportive. It was lovely. My mom was supportive. They were lovely. They were patient with me. Now look at me, right? Now look at me. I'm an artist without enough pain to draw on. If they treated me badly, maybe I'd be a billionaire too. At Cheyenne_Hussein12 wanted a joke about Fortnite, the video game. Now, this is the first one which I didn't write a joke about. I didn't write a joke about Fortnite, the video game, because I've never played Fortnite, the video game. And if you really want to write a good joke about something, you need to be familiar with the game or the characters. And if I, without any, experience with Fortnite, tried to write a joke, it would probably be razor thin. Boom! I surprised you. I told I didn't write a joke, but I did. Next. I told you, I wrote jokes about all of them. So some are terrible. right? If you laugh, let me know, because I think that was horrific. In fact, let me look at the comments so far. What have we got? What have we got? What have we got? Okay, hello, Faye. How you doing? How you doing? Oh, you enjoyed the panda porn joke. I'm glad you did, Faye. Good to have you here. Hello. You remember from the joke I do about Boko Haram, King Raphael. Wonderful. I'm glad you enjoyed that joke. Excellent. Yes, one of the topics is Tiger King. Hello. Dirty jokes. Yes, Patrick Rawling. I often do dirty jokes. It depends on the suggestions. And DPO Comedy Clinic says, please add me on WhatsApp. Beautiful lady that is up to 30. Wow, this is clearly spam. Somebody has added spam to my comments because they're trying to mac people, saying she's a lady that's... Oh no, this is a guy looking for a lady between 30 to 40 that can leave to marriage. Now, I don't think in the comments of a comedy show is where you're going to find love, but I commend you for trying. Kaylee Evans is here. If Kaylee is single, maybe she is who you are looking for at Comedy Clinic. Okay, let's keep going with the suggestions. Okay, so at Lois Wrights. Hold on 1 second. I just realized that some of these are double-sided. I'm just making sure I haven't thrown away a double-sided one. Okay, so at Lois Wrights has asked me to talk about weird British society norms. Now, there's two of these I want to talk about. The first one is this. You may have seen the fact that British lawyers wear wigs, right? They wear those little white, like, layered wigs. And British judges, they wear those white wigs. The only problem I have with this is guys, right? It's a very odd tradition, but all of the wigs are modeled on white people's hair, right? It looks ludicrous when you see a black lawyer who's got this dumb wig, which is clearly not his hair. Now, you know what I think they need to do? Come on, just for the black lawyers, can't we make like white afros, right? Doesn't have to be an afro, like a white, like Jerry Carroll, or like a white flat top from the 80s. Come on, let these lawyers keep some dignity, damn it. And the other one, this is entirely anecdotal, right? I don't want to make an overall arcing statement about British society, but tragically, around 2 months ago, one of my nieces was in an accident, right? She's fine now, but she was in hospital for 4 weeks. And I remember we went to visit her often, right? And it was very odd what we noticed when we went into the ward. She would always have my family and also every Malawian from people would drive in 3 miles from, like, people driving from Coventry, from London, all of our extended family and friends from Africa, like Nigerian friends, Ghanaian friends, all of them traveled to visit her, right? And so her room was always full. And then the other thing we noticed is when we were walking around the hospital, there was like another room which was very full, and it was an Indian person who'd been in an accident, and all of their Indian friends and all of their other friends were came and visited, their family, loads of friends. It was a very buzzing thing. But then there was one thing which we couldn't help but notice. Overall, the British patients had no guests, man. They had no guests. And I was like, what's wrong with... And then also the other thing is, like, the friends of my brother, right, who work with him, would send him a text saying, I hope she recovers, but they wouldn't visit. And I was like, what is it about this strange culture that you don't visit people in hospital? Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's different for your families, but I think there's something almost considered improper with British people about visiting people in hospital. Now, I know right now during COVID, you shouldn't visit them anyway, but I'm just saying, not during COVID. Generally, I found it very odd that people don't visit. And so I asked my British friends, hey, why don't your people visit you when you're in hospital? And he said, oh, I wouldn't want them to visit me when I'm in hospital because I look bad. Stop being vain. It's good for your soul. Okay, at BB51888 wanted a joke about pets. Now, there is a book called Pet Cemetery by Stephen King. If you're not aware of the plot, it's amazing. So, person has a beloved pet. The pet dies, right? He buries the pet in an old sort of burial ground, right? In the woods, and it's like almost like a magical place And so the pet comes back to life. Everything buried in those buried grounds comes back to life. So later, when somebody, a human dies, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I think you can imagine where it's going. So this is a magical sort of graveyard where whatever is buried comes back to life. If it was real, I would go there and I would bury my hopes, my dreams, my aspirations, and my self-respect. And maybe they would all come back to life. Next! Boom! Okay, at DJ Blue 23 has said that his ex has got the word curse tattooed to her forehead. Now, I'm wondering, did she put this on her forehead because of you, or were you the person who branded it on? I'm going to assume not. I'm assuming she did this willingly. Now, I never understand people who tattoo their face. Their face. That's for life. And also, if you tattoo your face, you are legitimately saying nobody is ever going to hire you ever again. In fact, you are committing to being self-employed. In fact, you know what I think you should do? Tell your ex, instead of having curse written on her face, she should just tattoo unemployed, because that's what's going to happen to her. I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, let us move on. And we've got at J Rabone. At J Rabone asked me for a joke about super noodles. Yeah, super noodles are also called pot noodles. You know, they're the little noodles which come and you just add boiled water and you eat them. And look, it's the food of students and lazy people. But I'll tell you what's tragic is there are people right now who are living off this because they don't know how to cook. A lot of British people don't know how to cook. I don't understand what's going on in this culture. I think it's neglect of kids if they don't know how to cook. I remember living with a British person the first year I got to the UK. This guy couldn't even boil an egg. What kind of mother doesn't teach you how to boil an egg? Dude used to just live on microwavable meals. It was tragic. So if you are living on pot noodle, this isn't a joke. This is just a little bit of advice, right? You can make the pot noodle a little bit of more exciting. Okay, so this is what you do. You start with 2 pints of water, right? Right? Boil the water, right? Add some soy sauce, like just 1 tablespoon, right? Add some grated garlic. Add some ginger. Add some chicken. Dice up some chicken. Just chop it up. Toss in the chicken. Leave it there for 10 to 15 minutes. Boil it, right? Next, what you do, add some vegetables. Whatever vegetables you like. Chop some onions. Chop some tomatoes. Chop some carrots. Toss them in the pot. And then add your pot noodle. Pot noodle last. All of these flavors are going to go. You'll have a much better meal than just the pot noodle. Look, this is not a joke. But who said I can't be a cooking program? Okay, let's move on. Next. At Tom's Grave 11 wanted a joke about tea. Now, tea is often associated with British people, right? And I've got to tell you, this is false advertising, right? When I first came to the UK, I was expecting a lot of, oh, cup of tea. Would you like a cup of tea? Cup of tea? All of the movies make us think British people are all about the tea. Nobody drinks tea. I don't know where this came from, right? Maybe, you know what is actually the British national beverage? Beer. Yeah. Every day you don't get asked, cup of tea? No, you get, hey, you want to go out for a pint? Hey, you want to go out for a pint? That is the actual national beverage. Still, though, British people like to argue, right? And there's an ongoing national debate about tea. This is an actual debate which people have in the UK about whether when you make a cup of tea, you're meant to pour in the milk and then pour in the hot water, or whether you're meant to pour in the water, put in the tea, and then put in the milk last. This is a legit British argument. This is what people debate in the UK, and I can tell you this is what we call a first world developed kind of debate, right? Debating the order in which you put the milk. If you want to know what we debate about in somewhere like Malawi, it's more the debate is, hey, do you think there's going to be milk at ShopRite, or do you think there's going to be milk at Chipuku, right? That is the actual debate. Where is the milk? Not what order do we put the milk? Next. Okay. At Annexist wanted a joke about clubhouses. Now, I wasn't sure what a clubhouse is, but I do remember once. This is I've got a very funny friend called Sugar Sam. If you want to laugh, Google him after the show. You can check him out, right? And if you Google there was a time when I was opening for him. So he was much more famous than I was. So I was opening for him. I was warming up acts. And when we were on tour, he got a call from a club, right? Which wanted him to do a private show. And he was like, hey, I've got a show in a theater this evening. Why don't you come to? They're like, no, we want a private show. They haggled over the money. They offered him enough. He was like, what the hell? Let's go do this. We go to this private show in a clubhouse. We're like, what kind of club is this? First, we're like, are they sportsmen? Then we saw they were all fat, overweight men. We're like, no, unless it's darts. They don't look like sportsmen, right? And then we're like, what is this? Like a political group? We didn't know what it was. And the more the show went on, we would try to ask them, like, hey, what's your job? And they'd be very vague. And we gradually realized these people were criminals. We were performing for hardcore criminals. I don't know what crimes had been done. They don't go out in public. They invite all the people they want to perform for them privately. And we were looking at pictures of them with like Mike Tyson, who did a private show with them. And then them with like Sir Mix-a-Lot, who did a private show for them. And I was like, oh my Lord, we performed for the mafia. I'm proud. Okay, let's take a little break, see what's in the comments. First, let me take a drink of water. I'm talking very fast today because there's so many suggestions. It could be a marathon show. Okay, here we go. We've got some LOLs. I like that. Excellent. Let's see what's going on. Okay, for the people who are asking for requests of jokes, that's not how it works. So in the course of the day, I take suggestions on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and then I write jokes for hours. If I tried to make them up on the spot, they would be terrible. If you look over there, you will see all of those subjects. Those are the jokes which are coming up. Okay? Excellent. Let's check this out. Yes, Basit Abdul, I'm laughing at my own jokes. The reason I'm laughing at my own jokes is there's no one here. Right? So the laugh track is me. Excellent. Stanley Pitt says, what's my favorite joke I've ever done? If you Google Daliso Chaponda psychology, you will find on YouTube the favorite joke I've ever done. It was the hardest to write. It took the most versions. I think it's my best ever joke. Okay, excellent. What's this? What have we got? David Chaponda, Daliso Chaponda, Fluffy. Oh, thank you so much for putting me in the same sentence as Dave Chappelle and Fluffy, who are both extremely hilarious comedians. And it is true, comedy is the best way to get through a quarantine. I've watched so much comedy, and it works. It gets you through. It takes your mind somewhere else. Thank heavens for hilarity. Okay, let us keep going. So we were at clubhouses. We did clubhouses, and the next one is masks. So at Christina Makunganya says that masks are not for everyone. They are too damn hot. And Christina, I agree with you. Masks turn me on too. And with the latest gloves, oh my gosh, they're way too hot. Ha! That joke is terrible. I apologize. I did my best. Okay. At Matt Plant wanted a joke about fast food during lockdown. Now, this is one of the ones where I'm actually didn't write the joke, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because over the course of the last 30 days, I have got McDonald's and fast food requests around 8 times. I think I've done around 5 jokes about that. And the thing about this is you can't go on a subject again and again and again. You start getting diminishing angles which you can reach. You start getting repetitive. It's also why I get frustrated about doing jokes about Trump and people like that, because you've done them so many times that they start to lose being funny. So I won't do that one, merely because I've done it many times. And yes, if I come up with a new angle, maybe I will do another McDonald's joke. Okay. At Patrick Smith asked for a joke about, was Willy Wonka a child-hating sociopath? Now, I won't do a joke about this, partly because, again, it is like you're asking a question and it's an already absurd question. So it doesn't leave me lots of places I could go. If the joke suggestion was Willy Wonka, I could probably come up with a joke about Willy Wonka, right? Because there's so many places you could go. Chocolate and factories and all sorts of stuff where the Oompa Loompas, like, there willingly. Was it a sweatshop? Was it slavery, right? You've got all these things you can talk about if it's Willy Wonka. But specifically, was Willy Wonka a child-hating sociopath because loads of kids were, drowning in chocolate and so on? It limits it, so I did not write that joke. So just so you understand how comedy works, big subjects give our brains lots of places to go. Small targeted things, often I'll just skip it because it is very hard to do. Okay, next we have got at Thomas Scrivener wanted a joke about Tiger King. Now I'll tell you an interesting thing. I did not do a joke about Tiger King. Now this one is going to surprise you, right? Why wouldn't I do a joke about the Tiger King, which is a documentary which has been going viral on Netflix? And it's very absurd. It's got very absurd characters in. There's probably a lot to write jokes about. But now this is something I'm going to let you know. If something is too popular, it makes it very hard for comedians to find a new angle, right? If something is the number one story on the news, comedians all repeat themselves. If you want to see what I mean, Google R. Kelly, right, saying that he wants to get out of prison because of COVID-19. Around 20 different comedians came up with the joke that while it's COVID-19, he likes underage women, so he'd only be in danger if it's COVID-13 or COVID-14 or COVID-15. You get my point? We all went down the same avenue. There are only so many angles you can go, and someone else has probably done the angle you're thinking of, okay? Like Louis C.K., comedian, right? He released a special recently, and he had been in a scandal for wanking in front of women, right? Around 20 comedians made the same joke about, he's releasing it while we're in lockdown and we can't escape, so we have no choice but to watch it. This is the same joke. Everyone came up with the same joke. I'm not saying they're unoriginal. I'm not saying it's not funny. I'm just saying if it's a big subject, everyone's going to have taken your angle. And often the first angles which come to mind are the funniest angles. Now, you can make a weird joke, but trust me, I Googled and I already saw 3 or 4 comedians talking about the Tiger King. So I'm not going to do it because trust me, I'll probably do the same jokes. So sorry for all the people who are looking forward to it. Google any comedian. Like Google, Trevor Noah or like The Late Show. I guarantee you'll have 4 or 5 Tiger King jokes. And it's very hard to not do the same jokes. Okay, next we go to at Jade Leanne Wadley. Now, at Jade Leanne Wadley asked me to make jokes about her, right? Said make jokes about me. And I don't know this woman, right? It would be different if I knew her. But I was like, okay, look, I'll take the challenge, Jade. I'll take the challenge, Jade, if you are. So I went to her Facebook page. Started gathering information. First thing I saw is her cover photo. It's not a photo of her. It's a photo of a bear on a bicycle. This allows me to conclude that, Jade, clearly you look like a bear on a bicycle, right? You've got a lot of excess body hair. I suggest, shaving, maybe laser surgery, get rid of some of the excess hair, okay? Also, her jobs. She said she's an actress in Hollywood movies and a manager at Google. So clearly, she's got a healthy imagination, which leads me to believe that her in a relationship status is probably not true. Her boyfriend is probably imaginary, okay? Now, I would continue, but I looked at the pictures, and Jade seems pretty young. So I stopped before the pedo hunters flagged my account as a possible threat. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the few jokes I made about you, Jade, and thank you for watching. Okay, so at Alex Dizzo Kachepo wanted a joke about the street vendors in Malawi group demos against lockdown. Now, this is another one which I have not done a joke. Don't worry there. I clumped together all the ones I didn't do in the middle, just sort of like as an interval, and then I'll get back to the ones I wrote. So I will explain why I didn't do this joke. Now, it's because it might be insensitive for me to do it. Because look, I've got to admit, I am Malawian, but I am like a privileged Malawian who am living well in the UK, right? Yes, I'm struggling right now because of the coronavirus and I'm not making any money. By the way, anyone who wants to donate and contribute to this, there are links up at the top, right? You can go to Ko-fi, you can tip anything. No amount is too small. I'll take dollars. You can tip me dollars like a stripper. Don't worry, I won't take off my clothes off. In fact, maybe I should hold you guys hostage and say, hey, tip me or else I will take off my clothes. But either way, even though it's a bit of a struggle now, I know that I am in a privileged position. So I think it would be insensitive for me to make fun of these street vendors. Because if you aren't aware of what's going on, these street vendors in Malawi have been told they have to go in lockdown. Now, they make their living selling wares on the street. And a lot of them are like, look, we would rather die of corona than hunger, because they live from day to day. And if they're not allowed to sell stuff, they're not allowed to live. So it's a very difficult situation, which a lot of people in lower income brackets are having to deal with. So I will not make fun of that, because again, how can I, someone privileged, be making fun of these people who are struggling? But I feel their pain, and I hope that there's some way which the government can make it less difficult for them. So that was not funny at all, but I think you can understand why I would feel bad to make a joke about that. Okay? At James Nemo asked for a joke about coronavirus. Not specific enough, right? I talk about coronavirus a lot on this show, right? Last one before I look at the comments is at Dan Thornton wanted a joke about the game Football Manager. Okay? Now this is a weird game. This is a game where you play a football manager and you manage the statistics of a team as they're going through a league. And do you know what I've realized? That tells you that being a football manager is a brilliant job, right? Because you would never have a game called Stationary Manager, right? You'd never have a game called Janitor or something like that. People dream of being these things. And most games which have people in a profession, it's a profession you would dream of being, right? So it's Football Manager is a game, right? Think about Monopoly. You are playing like a tycoon, a multi-billionaire tycoon, buying up all of these different, buying up hotels and selling hotels and going bankrupt. You're playing Donald Trump, right? And then we've got things like, the only one which is weird though is Risk. If you play the game Risk, the aim of the game Risk is you're meant to dominate the planet. You're trying to take over the world. You're trying to get Lebensraum. You're playing Hitler. You're playing Genghis Khan. What are we teaching our kids? Oh, I hope you're laughing, because I get very entertained by this stuff. Okay, let's take a look at the comments. Let's take a look at the comments before I continue. Okay, how are we doing? How are you doing? David Hutchinson, your joke is second last. I hope you survive. If you have stuff to do, you can go away and then you can catch it on replay and just fast forward to the end, right? Yes, Peter Taziona Oronia, hustle my guy. Oh yeah, I'm hustling. A camel, LOL. I don't know where I mentioned a camel. Will I accept a camel? Oh, I'll accept a camel. I'll take payment in any form. I will accept a camel, especially both humps, because I like big humps and I cannot lie. Boom! Okay, let's keep going. The Malawian street vendors, Dr. Opie, I'm being too kind. Look, I could probably make fun of them, but again, I feel like their life is harder than mine, and I'd be a dick to make fun of it. Okay, what else have we got? What's this? In Cape Town, Tatenda says, you've been sober for a few days. Liquor stores are closed. Any tips on how to brew an alcoholic drink at home? I do not. But the way that little kids get drunk is they just spin around fast until the world starts spinning. So just try that. Can I make a joke about Africans? Lil Diablo, again, I do not take suggestions right on the spot and make it up on the spot. That comedy might look like that, but good comedians, write the jokes way before. Think about the jokes. If you just go up with your first thoughts, they are often not very funny. Okay, let us keep going. So at Gareth Merriman wanted me to talk about UK citizens and the lack of McDonald's. Fast food, as I said, I've done around 5 times in the last 30 episodes, so I did not write a joke for you, Gareth. If you are looking for them, I'm not sure what episodes they are, but you can find them if you just look at the images on the side. Okay, at Adam Farrell wanted me to do a joke about babies screaming loudly on a plane. Now, babies screaming loudly on a plane are such a menace, right? Such a menace that that movie with Samuel L. Jackson called Snakes in a Plane, where he has a problem trying to control those motherfucking snakes on the motherfucking plane. He wins, right? Spoiler, but I think you can understand. That's what happens in movies. The hero wins. But if they made a sequel called Babies in a Plane, where Samuel L. Jackson has to try and control these motherfucking babies on the motherfucking plane, He would fail. You can't control babies. They run around. They vomit in your face. They diarrhea in your face. You can't control babies. Even Samuel Jackson would just be like, I'm too old for this shit. And he'd walk away. I don't know if that's funny, but I like it. Okay, let's keep going. At John Walkenden. I just want to tell you, I'm never going to do this many suggestions again. It is too many suggestions. My brain is whirling. I'm having to talk like a rapper. Okay? So tomorrow we will back to maybe 15, 10 suggestions. But because it's episode 30, I figured let's do 30. Okay? Hidden in them, there are probably a few funny ones. Okay? At John Walkden wanted to do a joke about trying to have a conference call with my daughter with my daughter screaming in the house in the background. Now, at John Walkden, I've got advice for you. This is my advice for you. What you need to do is you need to make your daughter a co-conspirator, right? This is how you get in control of it, right? What you need to tell her is, I'm doing all these conference calls today. Some of them are with idiots, right? You know there's some people at work you don't like. And some of them are with people you want to be paying attention. And you say, hey, you know when it's this person I'm doing a conference call with? Can you make a lot of noise? Can you come in? Can you swear? Can you just be a nightmare? Just because I hate his guts, right? You could even come in and say, hey, you're an idiot, to their face. And I can't say that. And I'll seem like I'm angry with you, but I'll be happy. Use her. Use her terror in your favor, right? Also, what you need to do is you can get a raise with your daughter. You can get a raise with your daughter. What you do is when you're in a conference call with your dad, when you're in a conference call with your boss, tell your daughter to come in crying and say, Dad, there's nothing to eat. And you could be like, sorry, he doesn't pay me enough. Use her. Use her reign of terror to your advantage. Try that at John Walkden. Tell me if it works. Okay, next we've got at Philip Earlham. Wanted a joke about Moby Dick. Moby Dick the whale. Now, this one I started writing way too late because this isn't one which I didn't write because it's difficult. It's just one which I think it would have taken time. Because I came up with a premise about coming up with sort of like the Avengers of literary undersea creatures, right? And you'd have, Moby Dick the whale. You'd have Nemo from Finding Nemo. You'd have Jonah's whale from the Bible. And you'd have the Little Mermaid, and they would be on some quest. And I to do it properly, I'd have to come up with a whole little story of the mission they would go on and who would be the villain. And I just didn't have time. So the Undersea Avengers will never be made, but that's probably where I would have gone, Philip Earlham. I just didn't have time because too many suggestions. Okay, at Caitlin Bubbles wanted to joke about the crazy lines outside shops. Now, tell you a funny thing about British people. Now, some of the people watching are English. Some of the people watching are not English. And I think this is specifically the English. I don't think it even applies to people in Wales or Scotland or Ireland. Specifically the English. Love queuing. They love queuing. I think it's part of their natural sort of genetic structure. British people love a queue. And they stay in a queue, and if anyone cuts the queue, they look at them, give them dirty looks, and say, there's a queue here. They love queuing. So I feel like when coronavirus has created queuing outside shops, British people are like, this is what we were born for! Vive Britannia! They are doing the queuing. Let me tell you how much British people love queuing. Like, after my live comedy shows, often I will sell DVDs, right? I'll sell DVDs. And this is what I noticed. When I just sit somewhere with a pile of DVDs, people walk past and nobody buys. Or one or two people buy. But if I ask two of the staff, I say, hey, two people in the staff, can you pretend you're audience member and just start the queue? And I start signing DVDs. People see the two of them standing and they just join in. Some of them probably don't even want a DVD, and they're like, oh, there's a queue. Let me join the queue. Oh, there's a queue. I don't understand, British people. You have some kind of way. Like, I looked at Stonehenge. People think Stonehenge is a circle. It's not. It's a queue. Those stones are queuing. So, enjoy the coronavirus queues. At Caitlin. Oh, that was your joke. Then, at John Pearson wanted a joke about single parents during lockdown. And I know you're having a hard time. I know it's very difficult, especially single parents. I have a good friend who's a single parent. And, I don't know if this is too private, but essentially I have a friend who's a single parent She's going mad trying to take care of her kid in lockdown and has just suddenly become really religious. I was talking to her and she spent the whole day like praying and looking at a fire and seeing visions and stuff like that. And very interesting when you're talking to someone who some of the stuff they're saying is like, I'm seeing visions and God is speaking to me and stuff like that. And you're like, well, maybe he is, but maybe he's not. But you can't necessarily tell someone who's in the middle of these visions when the visions are the only things making them cope with being in lockdown with a little kid, and that's the only human they take their time with. So you've just got to play along. You've just got to be like, yeah, and what did the voices say, and what was the vision? I probably shouldn't have told that story, and I'll get in a lot of trouble for telling that story, but these are the kind of conversations I'm having with my friends. Has anyone else in the comments tell me if you found religion, if God has been speaking with you, because we are all wandering in the wilderness in isolation. So it's going to happen. Okay, next. Done that one. Okay, let's move on to we're almost at the end. I think the hurrying worked. We won't be more than an hour, so I can slow down. I can take a drink. I can take one last look at the comments before we do the last few. Thank you again, everybody who's come here. You have no idea how good it is to have you here. You're keeping me going. You're keeping me alive. And right now, that's good. That's good. T. Iger, you went to the shops early to beat the queue today, and the queue was longer than if you had gone midday. Very true. Very true. Phil Scuba says the closest you got to religion was watching the Book of Mormon. That is a very good musical. It's a very good musical. Excellent. Lisa Litchfield LOL did something. What made you laugh at? Oh, the Underwater Avengers. I'll give it a few days and maybe I'll write about it. Excellent. You're very welcome, Stanley. So we're here to do the final 4 jokes from the suggestions, and then I will go. So before I do them, I just want to thank you, every one of you, for watching. If you enjoyed the show, you can either support me with the links above, you can support me on Ko-fi, you can support me on Patreon. No amount of money is too slow. Or what you can do is you can go to africancomedian.com. You can join the mailing list. When I'm touring post-corona, coming to your city, I'll let you know. Okay? Let's do this. Final jokes. At @edball_00 wanted a joke about WWE, who is World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, some of you may know that WWE used to be WWF, right? There was the World Wrestling Federation. But the problem was they were having a copyright dispute with the Worldwide Fund for Nature, right? Now, I didn't know you can trademark letters, right? Because WWF were saying they got the copyright on those 3 letters first, WWF. So when WWF came to it, they were in breach of contract. And I was like, you can trademark just an arrangement of letters? If that's true, I want to trademark THE, the. Yes, Daliso owns the now. Anytime any of you use the in a sentence, you're going to have to send me some money, right? How could you just trademark letters? It's very odd to me. But either way, right? I think all of us are surprised that of the 2 groups, of the Wrestling Federation and the World Wildlife Fund, it was the Wrestling Federation who gave up and backed out of because you would have thought in a fight, right? In a fight, the World Wrestling Federation, they're the real fighters. But then I took a look at the WWF, the Worldwide Fund for Nature's little logo, and their logo is a panda. And I realized this is how they scared the other ones off. Because think about it, right? If you had a fight between the Undertaker and the panda wins, right? Even a fight between The Rock and the panda wins. They were right to back out. Panda can kick butt. Next, we have a joke, right? This is a suggestion from @thouartugly, who wanted a joke about helium. Now, this is my favorite joke I've written today, but I'm not sure if it works as something I say out loud. You might have to read it. So I'm going to read it out, but if you don't get the joke, go to my Twitter or go to my Facebook and you can read it, because I think it works better if you can look at it on the page. But here is a joke. So this was a joke about helium. So helium is the only male element because its chemical symbol is He. He's been having a tough week trying to find love. He was at a dinner party with 102 women. He asked Sodium. She said nah. Yttrium asked why she should waste time with him. Bismuth said she was bi and preferred Mendelevium because she's a doctor. At this point, Helium gave up, figuring maybe they're all rejecting him because every woman at the table was on her period. That joke is lovely for some people, but it is one which it's easier if you read it. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the joke at Thou Art Ugly. Next was at David Hutchinson wanted a joke about wet willies. Now, I didn't do this for David Hutchinson because I Googled it. It's very hard. Like, Wet Willies is a bar. It's like a bar in America. Or it's, well, I don't know. It's a bar. And I've never been in a Wet Willies bar. I don't know what kind of food they serve. And do you work at a Wet Willies? I didn't know what to say because I couldn't find anything interesting about their history. It's just an odd name for a bar. So I skipped that one. And then at Mangwenya Nasibo asked for a joke about... Oh, no. I'll do this one first. So, at Georgia Calvi Coffin, I may have said your name wrong, but she asked for a joke about endometriosis. Now, I think you defeated me with this one. This was one where I was going to say I didn't write a joke, but then I heard, that you really wanted a joke about this and you struggle with this. So I was like, okay, let me take a look. Now, if you're not aware of endometriosis, it is a serious ailment, right? Its symptoms include extreme period pain, pain during and after sex, pain when pooing, right? Constipation. Oh my God. And in this description, then underneath they say endometriosis can lead to depression. Yes, it can. I think, is it the endometriosis causing the depression, or is it the pain during sex, the pain when pooing, the fact that sometimes you're in so much pain you can't get up? This is so, how can I make light of this, right? And I started thinking, how can I actually make light of this? Because it is so painful. Georgia, you endure so much, but I have realized that the only thing I think I have to give you a special gift, right? I have to give you a special gift, and this is this. Because you endure such pain regularly, right? You are the one person who I can say you do not need to tolerate it when people complain about their bullshit ailments, right? If you ever meet a man suffering man flu, going, no, not corona, but like man flu, when a man is overstating how ill he is when he's clearly not ill, I am giving you the power to kick him in the balls, right? Kick him in the balls twice, and you can say, that's pain, right? Imagine that every day, right? If some person is like, oh, I've got such a bad headache, and they're not sweating and in pain, I give you the power to kick them in the balls or kick them in the vag, right? Please, right? You alone, of all people, have got the power to kick anybody who is whining because you know real pain, okay? So, additionally, in this kick, I actually say you're allowed to wear steel boots, right? Because anyone complaining about the pain around you is such a dick. They deserve a steel boot kick in the bollocks. And finally today, we're going to talk about lockdown demonstrations. This was a suggestion by Mangwenya Nasibo. And actually, it's taken me on a little memory lane because I looked into lockdown demonstrations, and in 2016, I did a joke. I did one of these. In fact, the very first jokes from fan suggestions, I did a joke about Polish women. Right? Polish women were upset because the very conservative Polish government was trying to ban abortion. So they did a strike, and they did a sex strike. They said, we are not going to have sex with any men unless you don't put through this bill. The bill was reversed fast. And so I made a joke about it, but very sad news. Very sad news. Right now, the Polish government is trying to put through an abortion bill right now. So loads of Polish women in isolation because they can't demonstrate on the streets are holding up pictures just saying, stop the bill, stop the bill, stop the bill. And I'm showing solidarity with them. Now, like some people watching may be against abortion. Some of you may be for abortion. Some of you may even think like, why do I even have an opinion? I'm a man, right? So I should have no opinion. And I will tell you the truth. I shouldn't have an opinion. The only reason I am going to stand behind them, because when I actually think about it, right? Oh, I'd written a joke. No, I have to show solidarity with Polish women because I am not Polish and I am not a woman, but as a man who may one day probably impregnate a woman who dances on a pole, I owe them my solidarity. So everybody watching, I hope they can stop the bill. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the 30th episode of the Coronacast Comedy Show. It's going to be back tomorrow. It's going to be back every day during the time of Corona. Hopefully, it'll just be another 3 weeks. UK, it's been extended 3 weeks. I'm hoping it's not re-extended because I'm going to start running after money. And these shows are going to be like half me begging and half me telling jokes. But until then, see you tomorrow. Stay safe. And thank you so much for watching.